Hello everyone, good evening. How are you doing? Welcome to the live session of MentorCard. And today we have very interesting topic and and a great guest for the same topic, right? So let me welcome people are joining. Yeah, let's just give few seconds. Do you know that out of the one, four people who say that they have a midlife crisis? And what is this all about? And we're going to talk about that today. Mr. Nalin Singh, welcome to the show. I could not take you off the screen. He's a former CEO of Fortune 500 company and author of the half a dozen books. Wow! And he told me just now that he has one more coming in Moon Circle, right? And I'm going to buy that tomorrow for sure. And now leading authority of startup funding in Asia Pacific region. And one of his bestseller book is Reboot to Reconquer. And that's how when I met him 2 years back, he gifted me also that book by his own personal signature, and I liked it very much. And I thought, why not have a session on that this time, other than startup funding and all, right? And sir, on midlife crisis, I know only one thing. When I was coming into that age group of 35 or something like that, and whenever we used to get frustrated with the a lot of pressure on the jobs and all, we used to discuss about it. "Eh, छोड़ते हैं सब कुछ, and let's go do something else." And people used to talk about, "हो गया midlife crisis चालू," right? So that is something how I know not much about it, but when I read the book, I learned a lot about it. And then when I enter into the entrepreneurship, obviously, learned more people, colleagues who were, going through various phases of life. And I will discuss about that, how these two are related, obviously. So first question goes to you here for all the audience. And I by the way, spoke to a couple of people today morning on this topic, and they gave me a few ideas and few questions which they wanted to ask actually, and I took that also on the picture. So why people say crisis? First of all, I'm saying, what is so about crisis here? And I was reading somewhere, which is the age of midlife, right? Say 30 to 70. It may come any time, So what is this crisis is all about, sir? Please help us know.
So it's not exactly midlife. So if you read Hindu mythology, they say a normal life is 1,008 moon cycles, which
Hmm.
approximates to about 84 years, being the normal lifespan of a human being. And midlife would fall somewhere around 42, which happens to be proven by research when most people experience this. But it doesn't have to be the 40s. the young the younger and more financially successful you get, the earlier it strikes. The way I describe it is that at the peak of your professional and social pride, arrogance and financial well-being, your life will stutter and stop playing to your tune.
Hmm.
It will be a time when you will exchange emotions for clinical symptoms, and your regrets will outnumber your hopes. A time when you have lost the moral clarity of youth, and the emotional havoc within the dark chambers of your brain are sentimentally deluding you into uncharted territory. Welcome to midlife. It can happen anytime. It's not a crisis for everybody either. Just like COVID is a big problem, but does everybody have it? No. Cancer is a big problem. Does everybody have it? No. Will everybody have a midlife crisis in the same severity as a crisis? Probably not. I know a lot of people who don't. But a large majority of people come to a stage in life when they start questioning their beliefs, if they start questioning if they have enough time left, if they have achieved enough, whether there is more to life than what they have achieved, and it confuses them. Now, it tends to happen around the 40s for most people in normal lives, except celebrities, because That is the time when a lot of life events are happening to you in a compressed time frame of 2 or 3 years or 5 years. What is happening really in your 40s? Your body for the first time is telling you you're getting old. People on the street, kids are calling you uncle. Relatives are telling you you sound like your parents. Your parents are dying. You went to a class reunion and realized the backbenchers have done better than you. You yourself may be going through divorce, health issues, stagnating at the workplace, or have achieved financial success and are wondering what else to do. A lot of you may have teenagers who make you feel like shit at home, lower your self-esteem to zero. So many things happen in this 3 to 5 years. For women, somehow it is physically divided due to the menstruation cycle stopping. But for men, it is more gradual, and you can see the symptoms. You can see the symptoms when you find a 45-year-old guy trying to dance on the dance floor, which he's never done before, going to the gym and suddenly trying to look like 20, wearing clothes which he wouldn't wear for the last 10 years, driving a Harley Davidson motorcycle, getting a girlfriend, getting divorced, going up the mountains, going back to college. What is all this? It's a sign of being lost or questioning yourself. So you have
Yeah.
come to a mental dip. That is what it is. Celebrities experience it faster, right? They reach this stage faster. Think Mike Tyson at the
Hmm.
peak, youngest world champion of the world. Did he have to rape
Hmm.
somebody and go to jail? O.J. Simpson, Vinod Kambli, Amitabh Bachchan had it, Steve Jobs had it. Everybody, you think of any career in any sport, any phase, at the peak of their career, their life stuttered and stopped. And those
Yes.
who came out of it and succeeded again are our role models and heroes. Those who got stuck are unfortunately statistics. There are so many around us. Justin Bieber, so many. You just look around you. So many actors, actresses, sports stars who go and do stupid things.
Yeah, at times I agree. So, that's you very well explained about. I'm saying, though still not you saying crisis or opportunity. I always have seen all the time opportunity around us. But why the book Reboot to
The
Reconquer?
book, the book was from my own personal crisis, right? So, like when you introduced me, I was at the peak of my pride, arrogance, financial well-being, etc. I was the
Hmm.
CEO of a Fortune 500 company at the age of 37, and in that arrogance, I thought I could do no wrong. And I thought, what else can be bigger than this? I need to explore myself, expand my horizons. And I started making movies. In 2 years, I
Hmm.
was on the street, completely bankrupt, absolutely bankrupt, broke. Every single asset of mine had been sold. And then I realized, why is it that people do these stupid things when they're at the peak? I studied the phenomena and I wrote this book with a lot of real life examples. It became a bestseller, and suddenly I became a life coach. Thankfully, some of my other companies did very well, and I also became a successful entrepreneur.
Right, successful entrepreneur also, and that's how. And now investor, author, entrepreneur, coach, so many things, right, across the globe, multi countries. Yeah, that's how it is. But it does start allows. I have read that book, and I learned a lot from you whenever I met you on various occasions. I mean, every time I met you, have been some learning for me, and that's what is important. I think so. Midlife, as you rightly said, is nothing. You just keep on moving and keep on finding good opportunity and opportunities for yourself and your people around you, and keep going. I'm saying nothing to be so much hype about anything and so much low about anything. Just keep like a batsman on the pitch, faces the ball. Every ball is a challenge. Every ball is a challenge. That's it. He misses once, he's out. So it's like that. So you just play life like that. That's how I understood from people like you. Okay. So yeah, we discuss about why we say crisis, and what can be opportunity in this. I mean, saying in a
So,
nutshell.
you know, I have also seen some amazing people who never went through this dip, and I also tried to study what is it that they do that they don't experience these things. For example, What did a Sachin Tendulkar do that a Vinod Kambli did not? Going to the same coach, same school, virtually same economic background, coming up being taught by the same teachers, same society, etc. How did one turn out like this and the other turn out like that? And I'm not picking on him. There are so many other examples
Yeah,
you could take, right? We have seen Rahul Mahajan make a mockery of himself after his father died, right on live television, uh, including marrying 3 times. What is it? It's not money, etc. I think, and I have observed that people who set themselves longer term life goals rather than financial goals do
hmm.
better. People who think, the day I will make it, the day I become a CEO, or the day I have my own house, car, etc., when they get there, they feel a sense of emptiness and hollowness, and they realize, is there all there is to life? What's next? It's like climbing Mount Everest. The only way from there is down. So if your Mount Everest is only that big, from there the only way will be down. So a lot of people at this stage revalidate what they stand for, what drives them, what they want to achieve in the next half of their life, and they go further. And those are our heroes. Do we have any role models and heroes who did not have a dip and come back up? Those are the heroes. Heroes always have a crisis, then only come up, and that's why they are heroes and role models.
Absolutely.
Those are the guys who do it. And in any walk of life, if you look, you will find enough and more examples of people like this. The goals you set for yourself, what you're pursuing, what you're seeking, if it is longer term rather than financial or superficial, you are less likely to go through issues like this.
Correct. So people started commenting. So let me take up something from there. So Nikhil is saying it's like unstructured versus structured data. Okay. So this is something very very interesting. Yeah, unstructured versus structured, and now semi-structured also. Right. So would you like to add something here, Nalin sir?
I'm not a great guy for structuring, right? I studied science in 12th, majored in Chinese history, and then went into chartered accountancy and spent my life managing HR and then making films and now doing a whole host of other stuff. There is no formula to life. It's not a television set that God has sent you with a manual or a
Yeah.
warranty card. You have to figure it out yourself. And life is about living, but what are you living for? Who are you living for? What is your purpose? If you can define it in ways that are better than just monetary, it'll be fine. I keep saying, if you chase money and fame, you'll never find your passion. But if you chase your passion, money and fame will come as a byproduct. I keep repeating that to entrepreneurs, and that's very true for any walk of life. I think people need to relook, and it's a fantastic time. Just think about it. If you're 40, 42, the first 25 years of your life, you were probably managed or paid for by your parents. You were in education in some way or the other, right? You have actually lived only 17 years on your own. But if you're going to live to 84, there's 42 years more.
Yeah.
66% of your life is still left. And you have to live it with education that's already finished 17 years ago. And in those 17 years, you had the excitement of youth, the best physical body, you had the excitement of getting married, you had the excitement of having kids, buying your first car, buying your first house. In the next 42, it is a slow crawl to death. There is no such excitement. There is only pain. But is that how you want to look at it? You can also look at it as an opportunity that you have the experience and you have made the leap from intelligence to wisdom, made the leap from being rich to being wealthy, and you now know how to give back or create wealth or create happiness for a larger mass of people, starting with your friends and family. And there are ways to do that.
That's right. I think so. It's a great point. And now coming to the one more thing, which is what trigger? What are the triggers? which can happen. And is it for more on professionals or is for entrepreneurs also? I'm missing. Let's talk about these two things, right? That when we are into
Triggers.
profession, we reach to a peak, or being an entrepreneur also we can reach to a peak and then face something like that, right?
Yeah. Triggers could be many, right? I've mentioned a few. And it all happens in a small frame of time when your body is giving you messages, when you realize the clothes you're wearing are now out of fashion. Uh, Socially, people are looking at you for giving advice, whereas you're still lost and are seeking advice. Uh,
Hmm.
you are going through menopause or andropause. Men also have go through it. Your personal health is giving you signals. Some of them reach high levels of addiction at this stage. The suicide rates are highest in the teenagers and midlifers, not in any other age group. It could happen because you had somebody close to you dying, parents, in laws.
Hmm.
It could happen because you've had a near death experience. Suddenly, your whole life flashes in front of you like a movie trailer, and you realize that your whole life of 40 odd years was just few milliseconds. Often it happens to people who care for the ill. Suddenly they start reevaluating their own life. Sudden wild success, stagnation in the job, the separation and divorce, teenage children leaving, empty nest syndrome. Suddenly you are left alone without the main factor which bound you and your wife's life, the children. You will be surprised how many people divorce after the children leave. Often because you met somebody you loved before. That's a tricky one, especially in college reunions. And a lot of it happens nowadays because of work stress, people
Yeah.
leading lives that creates a lot of debt, and all of this creates havoc. People start thinking, what the hell am I doing? Is this what my life was meant for? Should I have been doing better? Should I have achieved more? What will I do with the rest of my life? How much time do I have left? How will I leave a mark on society? How will I leave a legacy? People start thinking of these things. The
Yes.
clarity of youth is gone. In youth, everything is black and white. As you grow older, everything looks gray, and you really don't know what to do. And who will you go to for advice? Not your boss, not your spouse, not your parents, not your children, not your friends. Everybody has a vested interest in you, or you perceive they have a vested interest in you. Who is going to give you objective advice when you yourself are seeking, when everybody else coming to you thinks that you know the answers and they are coming to you for advice? That is the phase where people get caught in. They really don't know what they're trying to do and where they're trying to go. And that mental confusion, the severity of which could be a crisis, a complete meltdown, at worst case, suicide, or it could just be a mild dip in your career. You smile through it off and walk away with it.
Yeah.
That depends. How you deal with it depends on you.
Correct. And what's the relation between midlife and entrepreneurship?
A lot of career stagnated people suddenly think they should run their own company.
Yeah.
And I was one of them, right? So people think, three or four people, I give this example often, three or four people, if you are working in a job, basically you have the right to sit in the cafeteria and sit with three or four friends every day and crib about your boss and crib about your company. And basically say, how if the company followed your strategy? Or if your boss listened to you, how much better the whole world would be, if not the company itself? And they speak to each other and whip themselves up into a frenzy that, if we did so much hard work for ourselves, what stops us from being the owners of our own destiny?
Absolutely.
Nothing wrong in thinking like that. For example, there's nothing wrong in thinking you are Amitabh Bachchan, or you are going to marry Deepika Padukone tomorrow. There's nothing wrong in thinking all this. The point is, you don't have the skills. You may have 20 years experience, but for 20 years, if you did finance every year, that is 1 year experience. If for 20 years you did only sales, that's 1 year experience, not 20. In a big company, in one small department, You did relatively better than others who were of a similar education background, similar experience, speaking the same language in the same city, and you got a bonus and a raise, and that puts so much air in your head that you think you can run the company. They don't have the skills. So they jump in as if they have fallen in love. It's very dangerous to fall in love when you're old, you know. It's a very blind kind of love. Even the love of youth is less dangerous. They jump in without the skills, thinking that they have all the knowledge to run a company, and fail. Now, statistics show more companies succeed set up by midlifers than young people.
Yes.
55% of the startups that succeed are by midlifers, not by young people. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they shouldn't do entrepreneurship. I'm saying they should do it with their eyes open, with all the skills that they require. The challenge is when you're young and if you fail in entrepreneurship, what will happen? All the older people will smile and say, well tried, no problem, better try something else, or go back into a job. You don't have mortgages to pay, you don't have children fees to pay, you don't have a wife, husband, etc., etc. So life is not that bad. And then you can follow all those grand, corporate slogans and jargon, which is beautiful rhyming words, like better to try and fail than not try at all. Entrepreneurship is like jumping off a cliff and parachute will open. All that silly things, What I want midlifers is, this is not for you. You cannot try and fail. You have
Yeah.
mortgages to pay. You have children to take care of. You have a responsibility to yourself, your society. You directly or indirectly are supporting 100 families. So you cannot fail. So you have to be that much more careful. That is why midlife entrepreneurship, though more people succeed there and fewer fail, those who fail, it is disastrous. And I know that from personal experience.
Yes. I agree. I agree. Failure is not an option here, right? Not at all. Yeah, correct. So, coming to what are the skill to overcome such situation if it occurs to you, to someone,
So
right?
in the initial stages of the midlife entrepreneurship, the two, or any entrepreneurship, the two essential skills that you should have: one, the ability to sell. So
Right.
if you are a guy who was a paper pusher in office, never went out into the market, has never done door to door selling, never spoken to clients, never faced the humiliation of a door banging in your face or a phone being put down loudly, it is not for you. You are too
Please.
soft. You have to be a little ruthless and shameless for this. If you're the nice guy around, I'm sorry, it's not for you. There are exceptions, but generally. Second, if you cannot manage cash, that means even at home your spouse manages the budget because they don't trust you. Really, entrepreneurship is not for you. Maybe your spouse should try it. Many of these entrepreneurs think they have these skills because they've done some project management somewhere or some coding somewhere or done some small part of some company. It doesn't work. If you cannot sell door to door and if you cannot manage cash, entrepreneurship is not for you. Period. Maybe some co-founder has it and you're lucky, but I look for
Correct.
these two things.
And youngster can still, they can think about learning all these skills is fine, because that's a different thing. But being midlifer, if you start learning these things at that point of time, then on is on your money actually.
Think about it. The people invest in you, right? Not just money. People invest in you by mentoring you, guiding you, being your clients, your suppliers. They all invest in you in some way when you're starting out. If it's a young person, they tend to be more indulgent. Let's support this person. He's young, he's trying, he'll make a few mistakes, but he'll be enthusiastic, he'll work harder than somebody else. When it's an older person, we expect He's mature.
Yeah,
There'll be fewer mistakes. Maybe he'll charge a little bit more, but we'll have a stable partner. So the expectations are different. You cannot enter entrepreneurship at this age and expect to be treated like a young 20-year-old startup guy.
absolutely.
Your
And so,
company may be new, but you are old.
yeah. And one more thing I also realized as a missing, because I also quit at a later stage of this thing and started. Though I was completely into business since beginning, like facing client every day, रोज गालियां पड़ती थी, so we know what it is all about. But I'm just saying that what I also have seen, that people who do not cope up with the latest thing also a problem. Like if you have learned something in your earlier career, and this is not happening the same way it is here today, the marketing, the sales, the digital world, everything has changed, and you should know all that before even talking about, or before even thinking about doing something, and especially in B2C, B2B, whatever it is, every kind of business, the way it was used to be done earlier has changed. So if you are not
You
able
make
to
a good
adopt and
point.
change, also a problem.
You make a good point, Ashish. It's like having a boss who always talks about his good old days. When you
Yeah.
talk more about your past than the future, then you know you're too old for this world. You should retire.
Yes,
If your past seems more romantic than the future, then you are too cynical. Maybe you should let go of everything you're doing. That's a polite way of saying something else. But the, what you are essentially saying is right. If you do not have a growth mindset
yeah,
where you believe that everything that defines me is open to change, and to master anything or to become better in anything is in my hands, and I can make them happen if I change myself. If you do not believe that the problem is not with the world but with you, you won't do well in anything, let alone entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is just an accelerated path of a 40-year career into four. You learn, you age that much faster. They popularly say when you become captain of the Indian cricket team, you age. When you become president of a country, you age. They show photographs, right? Barack Obama taking oath of office and within 4 years completely gray. It is the intensity of the life experiences that makes you wiser and makes you maturer. It's not a function of age. Wisdom, maturity is not a function of age. It is a function of the intensity of the experiences and how open you were to embracing those experiences and evolving from within.
correct. I agree. So one more thing, I think so. Manish is asking something. Let me see what he's saying. Hi, Manish. Please advise on what is the best way to delegate work to others to start the entrepreneur journey. Okay. Wow.
So, if you think that the job cannot be done by anybody except you in the quality you desire, you will never delegate anything to anybody.
Absolutely.
To delegate anything, including to your children, your husband, or your wife, the first inherent thing you should have is trust. Do you trust that they will give their best effort? Not that they won't make a mistake, that they are giving their best effort. And have you explained in relative detail what is the desired outcome of what is the task you're giving? Very often we assume Very often people assume that I have given them the task, they have watched me doing it, so they should know. It doesn't work that way. Uh, for example, you could argue that the umpire is watching Sachin Tendulkar play from just 22 yards away. Why can't he play the same way? Or why can't Tendulkar play like Sehwag? He's just watching from 22 yards away. Why can't Mohammad Shami not bat like that? Why can't one of them not bowl like that? After all, they're watching it every day. If people could watch by learning, we would all be superstars because we watch so much television or sports on television.
Right.
So anything you want to delegate, you need to think about it clearly as a boss. What am I giving? Who am I giving it to? Have I explained what is the task? What is the desired outcome? How does it impact the overall picture so that they feel connected to what's going to happen? And then you have to allow them to make their own mistakes and learn. You can't live their life for them, whether it is at the workplace, your children, or anybody else.
Correct, correct. I think so. I agree with that. And delegation is yes part of it. And as a leader, you should know the delegation efficiently doing it. And as rightly said, trust that people. Sometime what happens, they think that oh, जितने मैं समझाऊंगा वो मैं खुद ही कर लूंगा. The moment you say they start thinking like that, then you can never delegate and you can
You
never
can
have
never
a
do that.
team working for
You
you.
can't be you can't be a leader without followers. If
Yeah,
you are a
absolutely.
leader in your company, that means somebody delegated something to you and trusted you at some stage.
Yep.
You have to give other people the same opportunity. Otherwise, you'll always be a leader without followers. I often ask corporate leaders, because
Hmm.
there is this popular culture where
Hmm.
we sitting in our drawing rooms tend to criticize, say, politicians. They don't have vision, they're not doing the right thing, etc., etc., etc. And I ask leaders in corporate, how do you expect this guy to have a 20-year vision with a 5-year mandate? If you, whatever position you are in, project manager, vice president, whatever, even CEO, if your company every 5 years did an election among all the employees of the company and said, here are three candidates who are best suited for this role, and people voted for it, would you win? If you won, how would you think about your employees then? Would you behave the same way you behave now? Would you think of 20-year vision when 2.5 years later you're thinking of the next election? Corporate life is much easier. Democracy and elections are much more difficult. You should admire our politicians, not just us, anywhere in the world. And you should think, if you had to lead a similar life where you were voted to your position, who would vote for you? Would your family even vote for you? When you're in power in corporate, you can have all this arrogance. Oh, I'm a mentor. Have you ever wondered why mentors are always older than the mentees? Why mentors are always higher in the hierarchy than the mentees? It is just artificial power to you. Step out of that role, and
Hmm.
next morning you will realize, forget mentoring outsiders. Your own family people don't listen to you.
Agree. Absolutely. Yeah. Correct. Okay. So you said reboot to reconquer. So wait for that reboot or wait for that
No, you
reconquer.
should. It's in your hands. It's on your hands. When you reach a stage like this, my advice, when you reach this point of confusion, you're probably at a peak of something, peak of distress, peak of your career, peak of something. Think of it like when you're driving on the highway. When you're driving on the highway on fifth gear and cruising at 100 kilometers an hour, if the smallest of smallest bumps come, do you shift to fourth gear and continue, or do you have to come down to second gear? You have to slow down and come down to second gear. And if the bump is big or the road is stopped, you have to stop, reverse, go slowly around it, go back on the road, accelerate, and by the time you hit 100 kilometers an hour again, a disproportionately larger amount of time has passed versus that small bump.
Correct.
So, if you're 30, 40, 25, whatever, say you're 40 and you're going through some mental confusion like this, a problem that took 40 years to create will not go away in 4 minutes. It will take a certain amount of time. And for that, you don't have to break out the world or change anything in the world. You have to break within yourself. You have to understand your own motivations and what has got you till here. What are your real strengths? What is it? You may have studied something, you may have had a passion for something else. What are your real strengths? What drives you? What would you like to be remembered as if you died today, right now, other than your office people who would come? If I wrote an obituary for you on LinkedIn today and you were alive and you were watching it, what would you like to see? What would you like to read? Have you done enough? Think, spend time with yourself. There's a way to start. I tell you, the way to start is very mundane. Declutter your life. Go clean up your cupboard. Start with that. Clean out your car. These are simple things pending for a long time. But the more complex one is, if you're 40 years old, you have pent up and repressed emotions from 40 years that are really, really stinking and fermenting there. You need to get that out. That is your problem. You need to get that out and let go and reset yourself emotionally, socially, financially, in every possible way for the next phase of life, which is so much richer and better in every possible way. But if you don't let go of that and you're keeping all these emotions, I meet people in 40s. I don't get along with my father. I have unresolved issues with my brother. I have unresolved issues with my friends. I mean, what are you doing? You got all this going on in your head. I meet people whose phone is ringing all the time. They're in office, they are sitting and trying to pay some bill, trying to do something. Think for a moment. When Virat Kohli is batting tomorrow morning in Australia in the first test match, do you think he should be sitting and when a ball is coming at 90 miles an hour, wondering if his wife has had breakfast? Or if the electricity bill has been paid? How do successful people set themselves up? Declutter your life. If your phone rings more than 5 times a day, you have a problem. Latest statistics are quite alarming, People are disturbed by the internet 27 times a day instead of 5, just 5 years ago. Human attention span has dropped to 8 seconds from 12 in the last 10 years.
Right.
On websites, designers now have only 5 seconds to capture people's imagination before they click away. Videos more than 4 minutes are watched by less than 1% of people. So in this hyperactive world, my advice to you is not to go faster. My advice to you is pause, slow down. When you are in a hole, the first thing you do is stop digging. Stop, pause. Stop and pause doesn't mean artificial pause. 2 days leave, 3 days leave. No. Calm down. It's a 40-year-old problem. Spend time with yourself. Understand yourself before you try to understand the world or anybody else. Then move ahead with renewed energy and vigor. And there are ways to do that.
Absolutely. As you rightly said, that afternoon of life.
Yes, I said navigating the afternoon of life. So if you look at life as a morning, noon, afternoon, evening, and night being old age and morning being before you're 15, afternoon is, you still have the evening, a very beautiful evening left. So this pause should really help you to achieve higher heights rather than implode. We have enough cases of implosion around us in film stars, cricketers, in corporate gurus, etc. In corporate life, it happens later towards 40. But all the other ones who achieved sooner, in their 20s, 25s, 30s, you find these implosions. Rethink, recalibrate what you want to achieve. There are ways to do that. And the first and foremost way is declutter your life, step away, analyze your life as a third party, as if you're dead, if you died today. What have you achieved? What have you done? And then think, what have I really got? What can I do with this? What will people remember? What impact can I leave? If you can't think of these things, then you're leading a superficial life. You can go from one crisis to the other. The only certainty is death. That I can give you in writing with a warranty card.
Yeah, absolutely. So at last, I think so it was a great discussion on the topic, which was due for long, and I was thinking about that. Let me call Naren on this particular topic especially. We have been talking about funding and startup for long. Every week we do this, but this has to be something different this time. And so yeah, good. Now for the people, I request you to tell from where they can find the book, Reboot to
You can find
Reconquer.
it on Amazon.
Yeah,
I wrote this about 4 years ago. It's called Reboot to Reconquer. You can find it on Amazon. It was a bestseller. We sold 55,000 copies. I never thought that was possible. And that's what made me uh, help people. So now I consult with a lot of film stars, cricketers, CEOs, and help them think through. I can't live their life for them. Help them think through where they are, where they want to go, what do they have, what do they need, how should they set themselves up for it, and basically get what is the greatest gift you can have? Greatest gift, clarity of thought. No
absolutely.
confusion, clarity of thought. It's better to be wrong than to be confused. You should have clarity of thought, and that to develop that, you can develop that. And the first step is declutter. Declutter your phone, declutter your life, declutter your cupboard, your car, the way you lead your life, your day-to-day routine. First declutter it and have time for yourself. Then you can have time for everything else.
Correct. And that will reboot yourself completely. Yeah. So thank you, Daniel sir. Thank you very much for joining us today. And I think so. People have been watching, and then will be thousands of people will watch, as it is streaming right now on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, all three. And there will be a nice. I think so. People are already commenting this excellent discussion. I've seen people on LinkedIn have been stably, watching, complete episode. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nalin. Thanks for coming. Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening. Keep commenting. We'll keep reply to your comments. Whatever questions you have, you can always post it. The video is going to be there, and we will keep responding to you. And stay tuned for more sessions like this in future. And every week I keep doing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you for having me here. All the best,
Thank you.
everybody. Have a great life. Thank you.
Thank you.